So today we are very excited to focus our conversation around women in public service. And we are thankful to Huntington for their support of this session. And to welcome us today, I'd like to invite Carrie Carpenter, Senior Vice President, Regional Manager for Corporate Affairs, to share a few remarks.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks, Marianne, for hosting this important discussion. Huntington has long supported the Cleveland Leadership Center's program. I am a Leadership Cleveland 2009 graduate. Carrie Rosenfeld, my colleague, is in the current Leadership Cleveland class, and Rashonda Smith is in Bridge Builders. And I think we have 7 Leadership Cleveland graduates and 5 people currently enrolled in programs. So we're obviously big fans. And at Huntington, we're dedicated to making people's lives better, helping businesses thrive, and strengthening the communities we serve. We do this through volunteerism, corporate giving to nonprofits, and an employee culture that focuses on service. Our new community plan deepens our focus on social equity even more. We're proud to support the Cleveland Leadership Center's new series, Co-Creating an Equitable Future, a 5-session virtual workshop series that will explore different facets of racism, its background in America, and how to create change, which just started on April 13th. Equity for women is a very timely topic today. We know that COVID-19 worsened gender inequality throughout the world. Disruption in the economy disproportionately placed the weight of unpaid care on women, and more women lost their jobs and left the workforce. We lack female representation, especially in politics, and that has an impact on public policy globally and locally. Globally, women serve as heads of governments in only 22 countries, and 109 countries have never had a woman leader. At the current rate, gender equality in the highest positions of power will not be reached for another 130 years. Women's equal participation and representation in local decision-making processes is critical for prioritizing women's practical needs and issues in local government's agendas. While we only have 3 women serving on the 17-member Cleveland City Council, we're lucky to have 3 very smart and strong women here to talk with us today. Council members Jenny Spencer, Jasmine Santana, and Phyllis Cleveland. I will now turn it over to Rachel to introduce them.
Carrie, thank you so much, and thank you for the support of Cleveland Leadership Center through Huntington. So as Carrie mentioned, today we are going to learn about the 3 women who serve on Cleveland City Council. And as Carrie mentioned, that's 3 of the 17 council member spots. We'll learn about their approach to leadership and public service. And today's conversation is going to be formatted in what's called a long conversation. So each of our speakers will interview one of their colleagues and then also be interviewed by one of their colleagues. And then we will turn it over to the audience Q&A. So let's learn a bit more about our councilwomen. We have Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland, who was first sworn into the office in January 2006, representing Ward 5, which includes the neighborhoods of Central, Kinsman, Midtown, and part of downtown. Councilwoman Cleveland, who serves as majority leader, works tirelessly on ridding the city of abandoned, dilapidated properties and developing affordable housing. She is a graduate of East Technical High School and Case Western Reserve University, where she earned an undergraduate degree in English and a graduate degree in law. Prior to serving on council, she worked as an assistant Cuyahoga County prosecutor and magistrate in the foreclosure department of the Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court. Councilwoman Jasmine Santana was elected in November 2017, becoming the first Latina council member in the city's history. Councilwoman Santana represents Clark Fulton, Stockyards, and portions of Brooklyn Center, Tremont, and West Boulevard neighborhoods. Prior to council, she worked as an outreach coordinator with the nonprofit Hispanic Alliance and also worked for Metro Health Medical Center, promoting health and nutrition education in the Hispanic community. She is a graduate of Max Hayes Vocational School and is currently studying nonprofit administration and public health through a dual program with Cuyahoga Community College and Cleveland State University. Councilwoman Jenny Spencer was appointed to council in November 2020. She is a 12-year resident of Ward 15, is committed to public service, and has a decade-long track of success in community development. Ward 15 neighborhoods include Edgewater, Cadell, Detroit Shoreway, and parts of Ohio City and Stockyard neighborhoods. Prior to joining council, Jenny Spencer was the managing director with Detroit Shoreway Community Development Organization. She holds an undergraduate degree in political science from The Ohio State University and a master's degree in public policy and urban planning from the Harvard Kennedy School. And from 2005 to 2007, she served as a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer in Paraguay, South America. So to begin our conversation, I am going to turn it over to Jenny and Phyllis for our first set of interviews.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And Phyllis, we get a little one-on-one time this afternoon. So I have a series of several questions for Phyllis. And the first one is, from your leadership position as majority leader, what are your goals for council and how do you lead from that position?
Well, thank you, Jenny. And if I may say, just thank you to Rachel and to Carrie and to everybody who's on the call today for tuning in and giving us this opportunity to talk about what our experience is like being in a serious minority in Cleveland City Council. And if I could just mention real quickly, a couple other things. And number one, in my bio, I do have a JD, a law degree. I don't know how we got turned into a graduate law degree, but in case anybody, no, it's in my bio, Rachel. Whoever wrote the bio, I don't think it was me this time, but just wanted to add that point. But and then let me just say this, and I always like to tell people, when I was elected to council in 2006, there were 6 of us. Pat Britt, who's currently the clerk, Sabre Scott, Donna Brady, who recently left council, Nina Turner, who came in with me, and the late great Fannie Lewis. So it was certainly a different environment. There were 21 council members then, but still, 6 is a much better number than 3. I'm majority leader, and although there's it's considered number 2 in leadership, I'm second person. If the council president is unable to serve or no longer around, I fill in for him. But also, we pretty much work together. He and Council President Kevin Kelly and Majority Whip Blank Griffin. We are a team, and we work together. We talk a lot, and we try to, and we collaborate and hash things out as a leadership to lead our colleagues. My own personal goals for council, I just like to see us act as a collegiate body, or collegial body, I should say. And I don't mean that we agree and that we're all buddies, but that we operate under a certain decorum, that we have an understanding of the legislative process. We have a strong institutional history of council, the body, as well as the city of Cleveland, and that takes some time to come together. And that we, if where possible, we come together on legislative and constituent initiatives and policies. So those are just some broad goals that I have. Every council member comes with different experience and perspectives, and they represent different communities. So it's hard to say, have hard set fast goals for everyone. That doesn't work. We all have different jobs. We really do. My job is vastly different from Charles Life in West Park. Vastly different from Jenny's and from Jasmine's, and that's just by virtue of who we are and the communities we represent. So, there's some common things. There's a level of, I think, professionalism that I like to see, us individually and collectively operate by, but that's how I see it. And I mean, you all, Jenny and Jasmine, have seen me enough. Well, maybe not enough, but my demeanor, my personality. I'm kind of quiet. I'm kind of laid back, but you can also lead from that position, and I do that, and I speak with my colleagues, and sometimes I just, you support certain things, and people tell me I'm one of those people. Since I don't talk a lot, when I do speak up, then people kind of lean in to hear what I have to say. And I just try to be consistent, try to be open and fair, and have discussions with people. I love to talk with people that I don't agree with necessarily, or maybe I haven't talked to before, and get different perspectives, to help inform my own. Okay, I'll stop there, Jenny.
No,
We can go on and on.
No, that's great. And I just want to reflect on the piece about you being in a leadership role, and that the fact that you have that arc of experience on council. And as a new member, I've absolutely benefited from that. You kind of taken me under your wing at many points and said, hey, this is a little bit of background on how we got to this point. This is some knowledge that you need to have. So I think that's actually really important for the overall functioning of the body, is to have that mix of the deeper leadership with the experience, and then you're absolutely right that we all bring different points of view based on the different parts of the city. But I know I've benefited from your leadership, so thank you, Phyllis.
Okay.
So what has been your most meaningful experience on council?
That's the hardest question of all. This is my, well, I'm wrapping up 16 years in council. And so going back to 2006, there have been so many things that have happened, so many things I've been a part of, so many people I've met. It's just hard to pick out one thing or even a few things, because there's just so many things. And I guess I really can't think of a particular experience, but if I can just share a couple of things that really stand out for me. One is when I drive the Kinsman neighborhood. And if you've been on Kinsman recently, and you've seen how public housing's been redeveloped there, and Burton Bell Carr, who is the community development corporation for most of my ward, particularly Central and Kinsman, they built their headquarters there in Bridgeport Place, and we just done so many things there. We were the first CDC to have a mobile market. And I say we because but we had a mobile market. We were the first to open a neighborhood restaurant in a neighborhood where all you have are fast food restaurants, McDonald's and Mr. Heroes. We opened a healthy food restaurant. And now we have a community radio station. The first community development corporation to do that. And if you just look at the face of Kinsman, I can remember my first campaign walking in Garden Valley and just being really saddened by the conditions people were living in. It was deplorable. The housing was poorly maintained. It was depressing, it was drab. And I just wondered, why should children have to grow up looking at this every day? And working with CMHA as one of our community partners, and then again with the work with Burton Bell Carr. If you drive down Kinsman now, you don't, and if you hadn't been to Cleveland in 15 years and you drive down Kinsman, you will be lost. And so that's one of the things I really like. It makes me feel good to have been a part of.
That's great. And I agree. And you and I met for lunch at Bridgeport. It was Bridgeport Cafe.
Sunshine Cafe.
Sunshine Cafe. I highly recommend it. Right next to Burton Bell Carr's offices on Kinsman. It's a great place for healthy bite to eat. Delicious. Mm-hmm. So the last question is, so you're an attorney. I know you're a working mom, busy raising your daughter. So why did you get into public service? Why did you take on this 24/7 job?
I didn't know better. And actually, well, yeah, I do have a daughter now. She's 32 years old. I mean, 31 years old, 31. So, but when I got into council, she was, still in high school, junior in high school, in fact, and my mom was still living. And so the three of us lived together, we were a team. And I think I shared with you, Jenny, my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in my first year of council, and she passed away that September. So, it's been my daughter and me, but I've always been one of my good friends from childhood has said, you've always been kind of a do-gooder. I was one of those kids that I didn't want to see anybody hurting. I didn't want to see anybody sad. And over time, that just kind of morphed into the things that I got involved with, the kind of activities I got involved with, and the things I did in life. And one of the things that I really found when I was young, and I was considered, one of the smart kids in the family. I had older relatives and neighbors who would come to me for help with things. They got a letter from the government or some office. They would come to me and, for me to read the letter and help them understand it. And, again, I'm a teenager, and this continued, of course, and, to this day for sure. But, it's just I always felt good. I always felt like, this is the type of thing I want to do, is to help people with their problems, help people with their situations. As a kid, one of my best friends, we would always dream about when we got big, we were going to fix up our neighborhoods. I grew up in public housing and subsidized housing, Longwood, which was a pretty bad place to live by the time, it was torn down 15 years ago. But, it's where I grew up and where my friends were. And, I just loved the community, loved the people. And I was just determined that one day, I'm going to make this neighborhood better and fix it up and make it nice. And I didn't get to do that, but actually my predecessor, who's the mayor, Mayor Jackson, actually did that. And he created a model, I think, in a mold for a lot of the things that I've been able to do. I think in a sense, what we did in the Kinsman neighborhood, Kinsman Garden Valley area, was using that model that the mayor had done in Central. And so, my work from my first full-time job, I worked for the federal government. I was a service rep for Social Security Administration. So, I've always been in public service. I left to go back to school, finish my BA and get my law degree. And I worked for a couple of years for Cleveland Attendance Organization. While it's not government, it definitely was a service nonprofit. And then I started working for the court system, and I spent about a dozen years in the court system as a staff attorney. I was an assistant prosecutor for a while, and I was before I got on council, I was a magistrate in common police court. And I did foreclosure cases, and I know it doesn't sound very nice, but it was interesting work, and I tried to do it and be compassionate about the people who came before me every day. And so it's just been a natural progression of things, jobs where I felt like I made a difference for people in their lives, and where I could, I could help them. Even if I couldn't help them, I could point them in a direction where they could get help. And that's me. That's what I've always been about. And I didn't actually decide that's what I'm going to do, but those were the things that just came natural to me.
That's great. And I will add that all three of us are running for office again this year. So all of council runs. So I'm glad, Phyllis, that you have more service to offer ahead. Okay, I think I'm passing it off to you, Phyllis, to interview Jasmine.
Right.
Yes, thank you both, and we'll welcome Jasmine to the conversation. So Phyllis and Jasmine, take it away.
Hey, Jasmine.
Hi, Phyllis.
Okay.
So that was really good. One of the things that I could relate to is like a family member is going to you for help, making appointments and reading letters and travel and booking their travel. Yeah, that was me at an early age. So I definitely could relate to that.
Right, because you had to translate. Yes.
I had to translate everything and go to the doctors. You know how many doctor's appointments I attended with family members? It was a lot. But first of all, I just want to say good afternoon. It's always a pleasure being on a panel with my wonderful councilwoman colleagues. Thank you, Cleveland leadership and all the sponsors, Huntington, for this opportunity, and for Rachel for keeping us organized. And I'm just excited to be interviewed by my colleague Phyllis. So.
Okay. And it's my pleasure to interview you, Jasmine. Actually, this is a first, right?
Yes, it
okay.
is.
Okay. So the first question: what has been your experience since you joined council in 2018, right?
2018.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, tell us what your experience has been like.
Oh, okay. So first of all, I have to say, you know, my ward is very diverse, which is a beautiful thing, but it also comes with like great challenges, right? So, you know, a lot of what I've learned in council, and I will tell you, you know, first of all, it's very surreal that I'm a councilwoman. You know, I was so excited when I was elected. My first day at City Hall, I couldn't believe I had made it. You know, us Latinos are not usually in these types of spaces and having a seat at the table. So I went out and I bought my suit jackets and I made sure I wore my council pin. And so I worked very hard to kind of fit it in. So, you know, I don't believe anyone, and I don't know if you would agree with this, Phyllis, but you're not completely ready to be a council member. You know, they have, you know, you have an idea of what you want to do when you're running, you know, to bring change, but it's not as easy when you get in, right? There's different processes, you know, have to learn different personalities. It's definitely slower than I'm used to. Huh? Okay. And, you know, the need of our city is great. So every council person has their own agenda. Each ward is different. As I said, I serve a very diverse ward, highly concentrated of Latinos, which has been a little bit disenfranchised. So where do you start? Where do you work on to bring your most transformation to the community, to the city? Everything's important: safety and health and education and so forth. So I remember sitting in my office the first few weeks, and as you talk about experience, and I looked at my assistant, and we just both had this look of, we're lost. Like, where do we even start? You know, and I remember looking at her and I said, you know, I think I messed up. And, you know, I made it here by accident. Maybe this is not the right position for me, you know? So definitely fear came in, and, you know, the fear of just letting my residents down, you know, sort of paralyzed me at that point. But a few weeks in, you know, I spoke to my council colleagues. You know, it was a very vulnerable place. And I shared my struggles, and he said, I have to give him a plug, is Councilman Blaine Griffin. You know, his office was by me. He said, you know, he calls me Jazzy. He's like, find your niche. You know, what has been your life experiences that led you here? And I thought about that. And that was the moment that I realized that I had a lot to contribute to council body and to my residents. You know, my experiences for 20 years has been in community outreach, organizing, engagement around health disparities, women development, housing, safety, you know, and not to mention the traumatic upbringing that I grew up in, you know, with a single mom, blighted community, you know, witnessed domestic violence. So all of that prepared me for this position. And I think, and I would say, and I'll finish it off with this, is the best legislators are people that can relate by personal experiences to the challenges of their constituents. So once I put all that in place, you know, I felt more confident that I belong, and it's been all about, you know, building relationship with the city, learning all the services that they had, and linking my residents to those services.
Hey, that's great. Hey, Rachel, I just realized I asked Jasmine one of Jenny's questions, Jasmine's questions for Jenny. So I'm going to pick another. Yeah, I'm
That's
still
great
question, great answer. My next question is, what do you most hope to see for the city of Cleveland?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. So forward thinking, big visionary person. So I have many desires to see at the city. You know, I won't mention it all because I want to be mindful of everyone's time. But so one of the things that I'm working on is, you know, improving diversity within the city. City of Cleveland, as everyone knows, is a very diverse city in the state. And so I would like the city to reflect that diversity, you know, by adding more employees, Certainly more Latinos. You know, we are second highest growing population. Latinos families, you know, should not still be relying on third-party language lines. And so sure, language lines is better than having nothing for interpretation, but it cannot be the long-term solution. You know, we need to see more people that look like us and speak our language, are culturally relevant at the city. And you know what, I think this goes for all nationalities, you know, Asians and Arabs and Congolese and so forth. I mean, we are the most diverse city, so we definitely need to reflect those, reflect that, and it's particularly in the languages. A big goal of mine, and I didn't get that to this term, right? Because when you're first elected, you're just trying to find your way. Once again, you're trying to work on a vision for your neighborhood, identify the challenges and so forth. So hopefully get elected the next term. A big goal of mine is I would like to see an overall 5-10 year vision plan for the city. And Phyllis, I'm not sure, you've been, you know, in this role for many years, so maybe that existed at one point, but I would love to see an updated plan that includes input of residents and council members, administration, and our partners. You know, I'm a big believer that, you know, without a vision, a targeted plan, a guide to address the most pressing issues in our city will not move forward. And this is in terms of equity and quality of life matters. And as a body of council, and I think you mentioned this, you know, Phyllis, we're not going to agree on everything, but there are some maybe common goals that we could work together to achieve. And not saying we're not going to prioritize, you know, our ward needs, but every ward is different in some ways, and we have our own challenges. But to transform the city, it's going to take a forward-thinking vision and you know, updated policy.
Okay, great. Okay, my last question. How do you approach leadership in your council service, Jasmine?
So once again, I think it goes back to the first question that you asked me. And it's just, you know, it was finding my way. And once I found my niche, and I was able to build those relationships, and I was able to really identify, you know, what were the top 3 most pressing issues in the ward, right? And Erwin's on the line now, and I want to kind of give him a shout out, but we embarked on a master plan, you know, because, you know, once you're elected, right, you know, there's so many challenges. Everyone's calling you for, you know, dollars, and, you know, everyone has their own pressing issues in their neighborhood. So how are you effective? How are you transformational? How do you do this in your first term? So we embarked on a master plan that once again brought residents to the table. We know, right, that the voter turnout is very low in the city, and in my ward is 38%. So a lot of it had to do with the pandemic, but it also has to deal with the trust within the government, right? And not feeling like you have a voice. So we embarked on a master plan. We brought stakeholders together and residents together. And so the pandemic, of course, we didn't get too much, you know, we didn't get the participation that we thought that we would get, but it's working. And so residents feel like they have a voice, and they're going to be the ones who dictate the investment that's coming to our ward. And that has been huge. And the city has been very supportive. The mayor has been supportive with that plan. And then with that, I've been aligning a lot of the initiatives at the city, because boy, does the city have a lot of programs. I'm still learning all the programs that they have at the city. But once I feel like, you know, I meet with them and I present the plan to them and what are the top concerns, it's easier for us to address those challenges and really impact and build on that equity and those quality of life issues. So that's it for me.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you both. I'm going to welcome Jenny back to the conversation, and Jasmine, take it away.
Hey, Jenny.
Hi, Councilwoman.
So you've been a great addition to the body of council. I've learned already so much from you. So
Likewise.
Yeah, we're happy. So this is exciting. So the first question that I have for you is, you know, how is the experience as being the only, oh, I'm sorry. What is your experience has been since joining City Council?
Yeah, I mean, so it's, I'm 5 months in, and the first word that comes to mind for me with it is actually, despite the fact that we're still in this pandemic and everything is remote and over Zoom, there is a sense of collegiality on council. I think that surprised me. I think shortly after I was sworn in, I was added to, like, there's this group council this text group of all the council members. And it's everything from Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to last night we were texting about the Chauvin verdict. And so it's that connectedness that surprised me. And I felt really welcome despite the physical separation that we're experiencing. You know, this is a 17-member body, and you have to imagine 17 individuals. You see these two ladies and their great leadership and their personalities. The other council members too. I mean, these are 17 persons. They're all dynamic. They're all leaders in their own right. And so it's been pretty fascinating trying to get to know them. I actually haven't met many of them face to face yet. So I would say that even though I'm really enjoying getting to know the colleagues, and I think that rootedness in relationships and trust is so important, there is something missing, right? I think I'm missing that humans are meant to be together, and you can't replace that face to face. So I'm really looking forward to that, because I feel like to get this is actually, I'm going to take this adage, Rachel, you'll appreciate this, from Bridge Builders. One of the Bridge Builders lessons is you have to slow down to speed up. And I think taking the time to build relationships is critical to any council members, because at any given point in time, you're going to need to take your idea to someone, say, hey, do you support this? How do you feel about this? And so I feel that I haven't had the opportunity to build relationships in the way I would have liked to. So that's still ahead, but nonetheless, I felt incredibly welcomed, and appreciate there's a group where you can bring your tender moments, those when we're feeling vulnerable, like last night, just reacting to that, and that there was that group opportunity to be together. So it's the experience of a lifetime so far, 5 months in.
Yeah. And you're so good at collaboration. I mean, we met like the first week that you were elected, and you got to have lunch with Phyllis, which I still haven't had a chance to have lunch with Phyllis. So, so my second question is, what has helped you find your voice in the community and on council? I know, your voice comes way before you were elected, but what has helped you?
So actually, I have to correct you, Jasmine, because I haven't been elected yet. I'm appointed.
Oh.
So I know. Thank you for giving me the props. So this year is my first year running. So I'm going to be asking in the community for their vote this year. So that's a big deal. But I mean, I kind of how Phyllis described that progression of, or you too, Jasmine, just being at a point in your life, being in the right place at the right time, bringing our own experiences. I am so lucky because I've lived in Ward 15 for 13 years. And for 10 of those 13 years, I worked for Detroit Shoreway Community Development Organization. And then for 2 years also with Cadell Improvement, which basically covers the entire ward. And so I have, I know I referenced relationships before. I mean, I think that is a constantly reinforcing process where you have to, trust is built incrementally over time, right? You build trust with the community, or actually you can put trust at risk if you don't show up in an authentic way and with a service at the forefront. So I consider that nonprofit work public service too. So I had a decade of that, being really immersed, living here and working here for 10 years. And yet the community still challenges me. What's so great about this work is it's never like, oh, I'm done, I've got it, I figured it all out. Yeah. There's always the things that you need to stretch to meet a challenge. And so it's really fascinating. But I think that on a practical matter, one thing that I was warned or told ahead of time, but it still surprised me. I mean, we get just, innumerable emails every day, right? All of us. And I would say in any given week, at least 50%, if not sometimes up to 80% of my inbox is just constituents reaching out with issues, things that are on their mind, concerns. I mean, it can be everything from a very mundane, like my trash didn't get collected, to bigger picture things. And so I think that flow of information would have been like, if someone said, "Are you drinking from a fire hose?" I'm like, well, I think I'm drinking from a garden hose because I have that 10 years of experience already. I already know a lot of the programs and resources, and hey, did you know about this? So that's helped me quite a bit, I think, to onboard to this big job, is to have that experience already under my belt.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so last question is, what are your goals for your council services?
Yeah, and it was great to hear your vision for the city today. That was really inspiring. I'm letting that sit with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the biggest learning curves for me is, when you join council, you are assigned to a committee, several committees. I think most of us are on 4 different council committees. And so right now I'm still in the point of the process where kind of mastery, right? Learning the job is so critical. One example, and Jasmine, you and I are both on this committee together, it's the safety committee. That's heavy work. That public safety includes division of police, fire, EMS, animal control, some really big questions there. Trying to really inform myself about the consent decree, what's going on with that. So just knowing that while we can all be self-directed to some degree as council members, we also have to be part of the body, and we have to do the work of the council body. And so committee work is part of that. So I still feel like I have a real big learning curve with that. Public safety is about 50% of the whole budget of the city. It's right. Surprising. It's massive. So I'm still in the mastery phase, definitely learning mode. There are also challenges that we all share. Right, I have that awareness that as even though I'm self-directed and I have my own things I want to accomplish, another example of how critical it is to be a team player is this $541 million that's coming to the city of Cleveland through the latest stimulus. And what does it look like to be a leader, and how does council contribute to those decisions? So I do often have the sense of, wow, I'm part of this bigger picture and this body of work that we have to accomplish together. But yeah, other than that, my 3 priorities for Ward 15 are mixed income and affordable housing. I think that diversity is incredibly important to our residents. We're one of the most diverse wards, and people cherish living here for that reason. So we need to make sure that mixed income and affordable housing stays at the forefront. Workforce development. We have some amazing assets here in Ward 15 that residents can take advantage of. And democracy building. I really want to develop resident leaders. We have so many great leaders already, and I think people have ideas and sometimes just need a little or deserve to have some support like I did. I've had training over time or experiences that have helped me be more equipped to serve. So I really want to support people who are aspiring to be leaders in this community. And one more thing I'll quickly share in terms of my goals for council service that might surprise everybody on the Zoom today. So there are actually issues that are surprising that unite the whole city. One is actually traffic calming. And you wouldn't believe the amount of calls and emails I get about speeding. In my higher income areas, in my lower income areas, this is universal. And I know that Councilwoman Santana, you're always, never hesitate to speak about this. And I think too, Phyllis, I don't know if you hear about people talking about speeding in Ward 5, yeah. But basically there's these things about that, okay, we're seeing that all of our constituents are saying this is an issue for us. How do we come together and advance that cause, because sometimes those issues that, oh, that doesn't seem like a big deal. I mean, it's a huge, ultimately, it totally affects and informs your experience of being a Cleveland resident.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. And I think that's what I'm talking about, where you come in with your ideas, and then you get all the calls and you're like, I didn't know trees was a huge issue, right, in the area.
Right, trees is another, yeah.
Yeah, it's trees, they're speeding, or, illegal dumping. I mean, that, my neighborhood is really affected by illegal dumping. So, and then your priorities start to shift, based on on the resident calls. So, but nice talking to you and interviewing you. So I guess we're going to turn it over to Rachel.
Yeah, thank you all so much. It's so exciting to hear your insights and your approach to leadership. And I would say probably the number one question that has come in from multiple of our attendees is really, how do we address and advance the balance of power? How do we get more women involved in politics, in city council? And when will there be enough women on city council?
Phyllis? No.
I'll start and take a stab. And with respect to your last question, Rachel, I guess in the words of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when there's 17 women, there'll be enough. But I look at my experience when I came in, and as I mentioned, there were 6 of us, and they didn't all leave at the same time. They left at different times for different reasons. I think one colleague, a couple of my colleagues did appoint women successors, and a couple of those women were defeated in the special election by men. So, there was no one particular thing that happened. So I would just say, working with women in the community, organizing, women who are interested in government and serving in public office is one thing, and also encouraging those women to get involved with city government. I always tell people who are interested in running for council, we all get the calls from people saying, I want to run for city council, what should I do? And I always say, well, number one, why do you want to be in city council? Because again, people don't really know. They have no clue what this is like. I think Jasmine said that, yeah, there's nothing that can prepare you for this. It's just, there's no definition, there's no rule book, there's no playbook. So the best thing you can do is get involved with local politics and get a basic understanding of how things do work in the city, how the city operates. And from there, volunteering with, people in office, getting involved in the local political process, learning about campaigning and what's involved in the campaign. We're sort of in I think a transition period from the old style of campaigning, which is for city council races, just door knocking. It's good to be on Instagram and Facebook and all those things, but nothing replaces face-to-face contact with voters, with your residents. And although we're in the pandemic right now, and that makes it harder, you really get a chance to hear what people in the community are thinking about. Most of them are not going to call your office. Most of them are not going to send you an email. Most are not going to, comment on your Instagram or your Facebook or tweet you. But if you come and knock on their door, they will tell you what's on their minds. And so, I just say, organizing and, encouraging women to get involved with different campaigns. And, again, that's just, just one thing I would recommend.
And I would just add to that, Phyllis, and it would just be, even for me, right? It was about hearing stories, and these platforms are really good to inspire women. Maybe they think that our experiences, or, we were very involved, like civically for years, or, so forth, whatever they're, right. And really it was like our life experiences that led us here, you know, and I decided to run after listening to Congresswoman Marcia Fudge. I went to Washington. It was the time where they were doing like the purging of voter registrations, and she shared her story about social work and her challenges with her mom. And, you know, I remember her just saying, you want to make a difference in your neighborhood, you know, you have to have a seat at the table, you have to run. And that to me spoke volumes, and it really impacted me. And that's when I said, you know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna run. My heart's in the right place, and I think I could be a very good, you know, legislator and really service my people. So it's also, women need to share more of their stories, and sometimes they're very vulnerable, but we need to put ourselves more in those vulnerable places. And so that's what I would add.
And Rachel, can I quickly add, I'm aware of our time, but I just want to add that of the three councilwomen here in our meeting today, in our conversation today, I am not a mom. Jasmine and Phyllis are both moms. And, you know, I'm really humbled by that, because I'm watching my Gen X, right? My women raising their kids and seeing how challenging that is, and how demanding women's lives are. But we absolutely need, I want to be represented by a mom, right? I want to be represented by someone who's a caregiver, a caretaker, who understands what that's like, who understands the issues that caregivers face. So, I mean, so it's this push and pull where women have already so many demands are placed on them, and yet that deepens and enriches their service. It's like Jasmine's saying, that perspective is so essential. You can't fabricate it. And I bring it through my empathy, and I bring it through, I'm a caregiver in other parts of my life, but I will tell you that nothing replaces that direct experience.
And I know we are very close on our time, but I do want to get one final thought from each of you. For those who are considering becoming involved in public service, looking to maybe city council, what is one quick piece of advice you would offer that individual?
Find out why. A lot of people think they want to run, they want to be a council person, they want to be somebody, they want to be important. Look very hard to find your why. It may not be this is what you want to do.
I would add that if you're interested in this local level work, this community work, just start getting involved. I mean, for me, it was a 13-year evolution of really challenging myself to see what this community needed, and this growing sense of I'm accountable to this place. And I got involved really quickly when I moved into the neighborhood. I moved in 2008, and the very first thing I did, it was the Obama campaign, and I found the Obama folks, and I started getting involved. I mean, I just jumped in. That's just one example. There are so many rich ways to be a meaningful. Cleveland's neighborhoods, you will have no shortage of ways to connect and to find something meaningful to do with your time. Just do it. Just start feeling it out, and make mistakes too, right? Like, don't be afraid to fail. Have a great idea, try it out. And it's just, I think that Cleveland's communities welcome that, and that will, don't talk yourself out of it. Just jump in and get involved.
Yep. And I echo everything that my colleague said. Finding your why is very important, because when you have those tough times and, you know, that why, right, is what gives you that fuel to wake up and continue doing the work. So finding that why is important, and finding a mentor, you know, call an elected official that you have similar, you know, agenda, like, you know, someone that's like-minded, and ask them if they'll mentor you, and, you know, learn through that process. My mentors have been all males, which is very weird. It's been very difficult to find women mentors. I have these ladies that I look up to, but yeah, mentors are very important. And we also kind of need to overcome, right, that pride and that fear, and reach out to women and ask for mentorship.
Well, I thank you all for your time and your insights today. and all you do for the Cleveland community. We are thankful for your service. And I know there are some questions we did not get to today, so I will send those as a follow-up. And if you have additional thoughts to share with our attendees, I'd be happy to share those out. And I'm going to welcome Marianne Crosley, President and CEO of the Cleveland Leadership Center, to help wrap us up.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Councilwoman, that was amazing. I think what I am struck most by is your shared humility, that you are all dedicated to a cause far bigger than your own. And it is truly inspirational. I think Jill Paulson said it all in her comment. It's refreshing to see intergenerational leadership, as well as Black, brown, and white women working together for change. So you are amazing role models. Thank you for all that you do for our city and for all of us.